everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been away. I've been either sick or busy or severely stressed. Yeah, so I'm going to do my weekly wrap-up. Next week's wrap-up is going to be a day late as well because Monday we're going to be very busy. So I won't have time to film. And then this month we have a trip to Ottawa and Montreal for my son. It's like a late birthday gift, but he knew about it months ago. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy month and he's working. So fun times. And then we did find out a little bit about our daughter who, she is an overhead in some things, and we're really hoping that she can get out of it because she's very gullible and she's believing certain things about certain people, and that's how they work, but we know differently. So anyways, let's pray to God that she gets out of that. And a little update on Ozempic. I still haven't lost any weight, but he did up my dose. So this week I am now on 2 milligrams a week. Hopefully that'll work because I'm getting tired of this. And it has nothing to do with overeating. It is health issues. So, I'm going to be looking at my tablet a lot because I've read a lot in the last couple of weeks and I can't remember some of it. And a lot of it was ebook or audiobook. Sorry, I'm just maneuvering. Okay. On to the weekly wrap-up. So the first book was Half-Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and it's book 1 in the Covenant series. Covenant, yeah. I gave it a 3. I didn't like it. Alex, the main character, drove me nuts. She kept saying she didn't learn something, but every time somebody went to show her something, she just, yeah, I know it all. And, oh, and the potential love triangle drove me nuts. But this is about people who are half-bloods. They are children of 2 purebloods, and they have godlike powers. Half-bloods, you can either be a sentinel and kill demons, or be servants, pretty much. Yeah. So she would rather be a sentinel, but her mother has taken her away from the covenant that they live in. You find out why later. But after 3 years, her mother dies and the covenant finds her and takes her back to try teaching her. Since she's been gone for 3 years, they don't think she can be taught what she needs because it happens in the summer. They don't think she'll know what she needs to know to continue her schooling in the fall. Like basic training, stuff like that. So, yeah, 3 stars. She was annoying. So then I finished Forget Her Nots by Amy Breakount White. I believe I gave this a 3. This is severely young adult. Like, they're 14 years old in this. But some of the situations that are in it should have been for 18-year-olds, 17 and 18-year-olds. So it was a little bit different. But it is about a girl who is at a boarding school, and she has the power of flowers. So she can make things happen by giving bouquets of certain flowers to certain people and by saying certain words. And again, this is one of those times where they tried to show her stuff and tell her that her power is huge. And she's like, yeah, whatever. I know what I'm doing. And then wonders why it comes back in her face. Yeah, a 3. That's all I'm going to say about that one. Then I finished Finale by Becca Fitzpatrick, and it's book 4 in the Hush Hush series. I gave it a 3. It was a really mediocre reading week. So I'm not going to say much about it, but it's angels, fallen angels. Um, she is dating Patch, who is a fallen angel, and every year on Heshvan, um, is it the fallen angels can inhabit certain people, or I think so, for a week and make them do things that they would not normally be doing. I'm glad the series is finished. But yeah, I gave it a 3. What did I say for the review? Nora drove me nuts. Yeah, like all these 3 books, the main girl just drove me bonkers. Oh. And Pebbles is roaming around because she wants attention. Okay. So I said she kept wondering why she didn't know things, but people had told her and she didn't listen because she thought she knew it all. She was very naive towards people and things. I liked the ending and how the characters ended up. I did. But again, she just, I don't know what it is about some of these books that the girls seem to think they know everything, and yet when they're tried and they wonder why things are happening, then they go back and say, well, it was nobody told me. Well, yeah, because you wouldn't let them. So I was frustrated that week. Hi, baby. And then I read Father Material. It's book 1 in Home in Emmett's Mill. It is a super romance, Harlequin super romance. Again, I gave it a 3. Because I found the timing of her pregnancy off. And this is about a girl who is, she starts off going on this trip, this river rafting trip that her ex-fiance was going to be on. She gets there and finds out that they had canceled, and because of that cancellation, she was allowed on the trip because it's a packed trip. And so as the trip goes on, this older woman who knows the leader of the tour kind of pushes her towards Noah, I think his name was. Or no, not Noah. Come on. Evan was the main guy. And they have some fun times, and she finds she's pregnant. They live in 2 different cities, and then she has this pendant necklace, and he finds it in his stuff. So he goes to bring it to her, and she lets him know that she's pregnant because her sister pushes her to tell him. She doesn't want anything from him, like no support, no nothing. And she's always talked about opening up this children's bookstore. She's a librarian. Okay. Her pregnancy timing was off. She finds out she's pregnant, and this is like in the summer that this happens. So by Thanksgiving, she's a certain amount pregnant. 3 weeks go by and she's several months more pregnant. I'm like, what? And then another 2 weeks go by and she's having the baby. Like, Christmas hasn't even happened yet, and your due date is March. Like, it was bizarre. So I gave that a 3 as well. And the next one I read was Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher, and I gave this a 4. I gave it a 4. Oops. No. It is book 2. Yes, I gave it a 4. Book 2 in the Dreamland Billionaires series. And this is, he is fighting for the CEO, to be CEO of his company, of the company his grandfather ran, and his dad is currently CEO, Declan. And, what is her name? Doesn't say. But Declan is the almost CEO. And their grandfather had stipulated that they had to be married and have kids within a year, or else they would lose their inheritance. Their father is doing everything they can, or everything he can, to get them not there because he wants the company, because he wants the money. Yeah. There was a couple of parts close to the end where he said a few things, did a few things, and I just wanted to smack him upside the head and say, grow up. And there wasn't really a groveling. She just took him back. So, no. But it's a series with a Disneyland or Disney World sort of theme park. They have princesses, rides, all this other stuff. She's into plants, and she is his secretary. And he sometimes takes her for granted that she's always going to be there. She's always going to work, so she works 7 days a week with no problems. And then when she's not there, he takes a hissy fit. So, yeah. I loved it, though. I like her writing. It's very engaging, very page-turning. So I think that is it for ebooks, audiobooks. But we will just keep it open for others. So this one I think I gave a 3 to. Yep. You Can Only Die Once by Shelley Costa. It is book 1 in a, The Italian Restaurant Mystery. Her grandmother owns the restaurant. She runs it. She used to be a former tap dancer on Broadway. She fell off the stage, got injured, and never went back. She became the head chef of this restaurant. And one morning she comes into the restaurant and finds a dead man laying there. She doesn't know who he is. Come to find out, it's her grandmother's boyfriend. And so her grandmother is assumed that she was the killer. And along the walls of this restaurant are a whole bunch of opera memorabilia, including this one prized record of a man singing this one specific song in English. And it's very hard to get. And the dead man was laying on it. And a bunch of robberies are happening in the city, the town. So there's that. She was kind of flaky. Her name was, the grandmother's name is Maria Pia, and she was Eve Angelata. Hey, a couple of her cousins worked there, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It was just, there was too much crammed into it, I think, but with not enough explanation or resolve, if you can kind of understand that. And it was just sort of, it felt like it was thrown together at the end. And the love interest is a lawyer who she hires to take on her grandmother's case. And this is what got me. She meets him when he's skulking outside of her restaurant in the garbage looking for his wedding ring after having slept with her cousin on her office couch 3 nights. And that's her new love interest. I'm like, no, you don't go with people that your family has slept with. It's just, that's, ugh. Anyways, the next one I read was Grayson by Dolores Fawson, and it is book 1 in the Lawmen of Silver Creek Ranch. This is a second chance romance. I gave it a 4, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, I did. She comes back to town because she has 1 day to get pregnant. She is in early menopause. She's in her early 30s. She's, the doctor said, you are ovulating. You have like 24 hours to get pregnant, or that's your last chance. So she goes to her grandmother's cabin and she meets up with Grayson and asks him to be her baby daddy, because they do have a past. he says no. And then they proceed to get shot at. So while they're getting shot at and killing or shooting the guy in the bushes, they decide to have sex against a tree. Okay, there's a dead body over there. Like, so, cheese factor. Anyways, so they're wondering why she's being shot at, because there are other things that are happening. And she's a reporter or photographer. Pretty sure she does articles. So, yeah, so they don't know if it's tied into that, or so I gave it a 4. And then I finished, finally, Sabrina Jeffries, A Hellion in Her Bed, and it is it book 1? Yep. Book 1 of Hellions, no, book 2. Hellions of Halstead Hall. I know I gave this a 4. I can't quite remember it right now. Let's see. Oh, right, the brewery. So, the grandmother is another ultimatum. Has told them that they, in order to have their inheritance, she has 5 grandkids. She wants them all married. She wants great grandkids before she dies. And she ends up getting sick. So she's on bed rest. So Jarrett takes over the brewery on one condition, that he is exempt from the ultimatum. And previously, when he was a kid, he wanted to work in the brewery, and his grandmother had said, no, you need to go to school. So he decided to become a gambler. So he's a professional gambler. And what is her name? Annabelle is I wouldn't say a brewery owner. Her brother owns the brewery, and her sister-in-law are running it because he's a massive drunk. You find out later why. But so she shows up, and they run a small brewery out in a different town. So she shows up and wants him to help her brewery merge into this the East India Company's market, because she's got a very good pale ale, and it can only be made with the water from her town because it tastes different with the water anywhere else. He enjoys it, and they kind of make a bet that if she won, he helps her. If he won, she would bed him. But there's a couple of little twists. So he doesn't want to take the bet and ruin her, but she's got a secret of her own. So I gave it a 4. Then I finished Evelyn Lau. Choose Me by Evelyn Lau. This is 7 short stories. And every single one of them I gave a 2. Because they sucked. It's for a challenge. After this, I will be doing my August TBR. But it's supposed to be romance. Every single female in here was not angry, not sad, but maudlin, melancholy. There's the first one, family. She's a girlfriend, and they're all age gaps, like severe age gaps. The girlfriend stays in her lover's house while they're away at the cabin, and she meets the family. And then the next day, she leaves. The second one is The Outing. She's a prostitute or an escort, and he needs her to accompany him to this swingers event. And the only reason he would get in is because of the way she looks, because she's beautiful. He's kind of old and whatever. There was a little twist on that one. The next one is The Summer Place. She's a photographer, getting away with, what was it? They were just at this cottage of somebody, and one guy was trying to get in her bed, and it was just no. And I guess she was in a bad relationship. The next one was A Faithful Husband. They're in Rome. Severe age gap again. He doesn't like to travel. She wanted to travel because she always said she needed to see Italy before the age of 30, so he gifted her with a plane ticket. And yeah, she had some fun and then realized that her husband at home sucked. Suburbia, severe age gap again. He's a professor and he's cheating on his wife with one of his students. In the desert, he's impotent and another severe age gap. He's a former professor who's retired and requires that his wife be by his side, who's had to take off work because she's still a teacher. And she's repulsed by him because he's impotent. But he's had lovers, or he's had affairs, like he's cheated on her. And then Blue Skies, it was a young girl who's obsessed with this couple, and she's obsessed with the wife, but she keeps talking to the husband, and then like nothing happens. But it was depressing to read this stuff. Like a lot of cheating, and it just felt like a lot of age gap. So it felt like Evelyn Lau's fantasies, depressing fantasies, were like she's writing about, because they were all the same thing, like age gap. And it was always older men, younger women, older men, younger women, always, in every single story. Yeah, I gave it a 2. Might put that to a 1, but anyways. Then I finished Secrets of Bellaterra by Christina Dodd. It is the first in the Scarlet Deception trilogy. I think there's just 3. And this is about a band of brothers. All have the same father. 2 of them have the same mother. So this is Rafe's story. Rafe is the oldest. He's from the first marriage of his father. And he is a former military who has his own security, but it's like a high detail security where he travels all over the world and helps like terrorism, like getting... The one he's involved in is getting a female helicopter pilot out of Kyrgyzstan with terrorists. So trying to get her out of the country. So that's what he does. This is a second chance romance because he and what was her name? Oh, not Annabelle. Brooke. Grew up together because she is a military kid, army kid, whose mother divorces her father and moves to this town. And so it starts out with his grandmother getting beat up. And she keeps saying about the past. Like, I thought it was all done. Why is it coming up again now? You do find out what it is that keeps coming up. Little bit stuff was just not really resolved. And that's part of the trilogy. There's an ongoing thing with this bottle of wine from her husband's past. It's a thing. So they have a resort, and his brother, is it Eli? Eli, yeah. No, he's not the oldest. Eli's the oldest, I think. I think Eli's the oldest. Then Noah, then Rafe. Anyways. So Eli runs the resort. Noah runs the vineyard. And Rafe is off doing whatever. Doing his security detail, whatever. So when their grandmother Sarah gets beat up, they all come running. And Brooke runs the resort. So the whole thing is trying to figure out why Sarah was beat up. Why there are other people on the resort getting killed. The mystery was really good. The romance is good too, but it was kind of a slow because Brooke didn't want her heart broken yet again by Rafe, and Rafe really truly loved her, but he couldn't settle down. So yeah, he also has PTSD, yeah. So I gave this a 4. Definite. Love her writing, and that's what I finished. Currently reading. I am currently reading book 1 in the Dark Protector series by Fated by Rebecca Zanetti. There's shapeshifters, vampires, fairies, excuse me. But it starts out, he's breaking into her house and says, "You need to come now." And her daughter had just run into her room and said, "The bad men are coming, we need to leave now." And her daughter's like 4. You find out that they're psychic. So the part where she doesn't believe anything that's going on is kind of weird, because she has tamped down her powers. She doesn't want anything to do with them. Her daughter, on the other hand, is fully out there. And so why she's not believing her daughter, mind you, she's 4. But she knows she has this ability. She knows she's been right in the past. Why is she not believing it? So he's a vampire, and it's not like the vampires where you bite and become a vampire. You have to be born, and the only vampires are male. And there's their type, and then there's a war with the Kurgans, and they are nasty people. So the Kurgans are after her and her daughter because they want, it's been prophesied that getting their hands on her and her daughter are going to make them win the war that had been off for the last 300 years. And because of, was it somebody's death? It's now back to being on. So that's about all I've gotten so far. And they mate for life. They only have one mate, and it just happens to be her. The guy that's kidnapping her and taking her away to this safe place just happens to be her mate, because as soon as he touches her, a brand goes on his palm, and then in the mating process, she gets branded. It is what it is. I'd say it was a dark romance, but yeah. And then I'm also reading Mary Balog's Someone to Love. It's book 1 in the Westcott series. She has been in an orphanage since she was 4. And he is, okay, there is a family tree in the beginning of this that you kind of have to sit and read it, because it is very confusing. Like the way it's being written at the beginning, you don't kind of know who's who yet. But the Earl of Riverdale has passed away. So his son, he's got 2 daughters and a son. His son has not made it to the age of majority yet. He's only 20, and the age of majority is 21. So Avery has to be his ward, and he's like a distant cousin. His stepmother is, it's a thing. It's all convoluted. It's all cousins and great aunts and whatever. So he has to be, Avery has to be Harry's ward, or Harry is Avery's ward. So he has to take care of him until he's 21, and then he gets the full inheritance. Then they discover that Anna, who's been in the orphanage since she was 4, is in fact the firstborn daughter of the Earl of Riverdale. And the Earl died without having a will. That's as far as I've gotten. She has just traveled to London to meet with the barrister, because she has no clue. Her life in the orphanage has been paid for, and is continued to be paid for from the estate of the Earls, from the Earl's estate, as long as she stays at the orphanage. So now the brother and the two other sisters know nothing about her existence. They're just all finding this out now. So this should be interesting to see, because she's supposed to inherit everything, and the brother and the sisters want nothing to do with her or the money. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. So to read, I'm going to finish those two, and then I should have grabbed the one book. You're sitting on it, so I can't. But this is book 2 in the what is it? Book Retreat Mystery, and it is Murder in the Paperback Parlor by Ellery Adams. It's like a resort with every room is a different theme, and yeah, so I think there's twins. She's got twin boys, and she lives with her aunt and uncle. I think that's what it was. But this one is a week of activities for fans of love stories over book-themed resort. But her Regency readers barely have time to brush up on their Jane Austen before tragedy strikes Storyton Hall. Rosamund York, one of the most celebrated authors in attendance, is killed. And I spoke about this before, that I actually know 2 people who work for this company. And it is The Roofers by John Hurley. One of the guys that I know work for them, I've known him since I was 7. And then the other one, the other guy used to work with my husband. And his picture's in here, in the back. Right there. But I spoke about this because the guy does own a roofing company in this town. He is local to me. And he is not known for being the most conscientious or law-abiding roofer in town. It's one of those get in, get out sort of. He has a big crew for a reason. So yeah, my husband, I got it for my husband to read, and he couldn't even get through it because it was so over-the-top pretentious, and his guys can never do any harm. I know the story is they go down to Mexico to help out after a storm. Yeah, so I want to see what it's about, but there's only like 5 ratings on Goodreads, and they are all bad. Nobody's actually said why, but people in the States are not, like, I don't know how they got it, but yeah. So the other book is, I just picked it up at the library, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, and I know that is, she's her sister's bridesmaid, he's his brother's groomsman. They're all at the wedding, and they're the only 2 people that do not have the seafood. Everybody else gets food poisoning, so they end up going on the non-refundable honeymoon, and things ensue. So that is my long-winded weekly wrap-up and life updates. So yeah, next week is going to be late, but then after that it should be back to normal, except for our trip. But I don't think the trip coincides with filming times. So after this I will film my August TBR, and so you might get 2 videos from me today. I hope you don't mind. It's just because that's when I can do it, that's when I can upload it. So let me know if you've read any of these books, if you like them, what you thought of them. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I will talk to you later. Bye.